I popped in. Are you recording now? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was good that you were actually talking about the questions, which is what the point was. It did not work as planned, which sometimes happens. But did for those of you who were in the groups, was there one particular question, or it doesn't have to be the same person in the same group? So different questions mean different things to different people. So was there one question that you thought that was really useful for you in understanding how culture worked?
Can you repeat, please?
Was there, for those of you who went through multiple questions, was there some particular question that you thought was very useful for you or important for you to have discussed? Was there something that was really important for you that you're going to take away from this exercise?
Can I? We had a very interesting question about students that I'm sorry, might be a little bit sounds different sounds here. So we had questions about students why they don't want to ask help. Maybe what is scare they have. So it was very interesting because when I discussed, we decided that teacher teacher doesn't need to evaluate the students differences students and just to be very objective and to understand that different students have need more time maybe for understanding. So it was a good experience, for example, to evaluate our job, and to understand some different interesting things for us like teachers. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. That particular question was why would students, and particularly multicultural students, be less likely to ask for help when they were having difficulty? And there are some personal types, there are some cultural types, and there are some this disconnect between what they expect from the teacher and what the teacher is willing to give to them. So I think that Natalia is right. The teachers need to be sensitive to how these students are seeing themselves in their role in a multicultural environment and how the teacher sees his or her role in that same space. And it would apply equally to a room of everyone from the same country, because even then people have different reasons on why they're hesitant to ask for help. A lot of people are afraid to voice their inability to understand because they fear they'll be perceived or seen as not smart, when in fact teachers in this group will know that if one person has that question, chances are there's more than one person who has that question. So that was to help them to see the cultural reasons on why someone might not ask for help. Was there another question that somebody saw that they thought was interesting?
Yes.
Okay, go.
For me, it was like striking the answer to the question where the situation is given to you that you are talking to a person from a different language, and you start to talk with them in their native language, but then they reply to you in your native language. And it was quite difficult for me to visualize this situation, because I have never been in a situation when where a foreigner would talk to me in my native language, maybe just few words. So naturally, I would compliment them on how well they speak. But surprisingly, this was not correct answer. And the correct one was B, use your native language. But then we also have to consider the level of like each of us in the other person's native language. So in my case, I would stick to the language we both know. I guess that would be the best solution for this conversation.
That's actually, you raise an interesting point in that when we create these cards, they're based on literature and or experience, or literature-based experience. And there's never, there are typical answers, but you raise a situation in which it may be an atypical answer. And that's where learning how to be culturally sensitive or linguistically sensitive, you can look at the situation you're in and decide whether or not it is wiser to follow what the card suggested or follow what your gut suggests, because you're saying that I think in those circumstances you feel that you would want to stay in the mutual language just so you can actually have a conversation. Some people want to practice another language. They're there because they want to practice that language, even if they're doing it poorly. For them, it's like, I want to identify with your culture, and therefore I'm going to try my best. When I
This
was
is my
learning,
case.
yes. So when I was learning Finnish, I was trying to engage in Finnish, and the first thing people would say is, "Do you speak English?" Which was kind of not what I wanted the answer to be.
Yes.
I wanted to say, I'm practicing my Finnish, but they were not in a position where they wanted to spend a lot of time trying to wait for me to figure out how I wanted to say it. So as you get more experience in intercultural environments, then you learn a little bit of a second sense of what that one might require. It might be good, it might be bad. You learn from whichever one you do, but it's a process that you start seeing, what are you hearing between how this person is interacting with you? And then you can even ask, is it okay if we?
Mhm.
If when in doubt, you can always ask. You know, I say, I'm trying to practice my Finnish, and they're like, well, I don't have time for that. So let's go to
Oh,
English and get your answer. Okay, fine. All
well,
right.
it's good to
So
be always clear. Yes.
yes, it's never, you can never lose by asking people what they would like.
Mhm.
Okay. And if you have time to engage in their practicing your language, then go with that.
Mhm.
Any other questions that were interesting?
Mm.
Dennis, you had something to say?
I just wanted to go backward to the point when we talk about students that they don't ask the questions when they don't know. First of all, from my own experience at my lessons, I always speak with students and telling them that we are all in this room are scientists, and the only difference between you and me that I'm knowing the answers. We're all studying. I'm studying
Yeah.
to work with you, and you're studying the subject that I'm giving to you. And the second one when you said about fear of asking about questions you don't know, I just remembered the Eastern proverb. I think it's Chinese proverb that meaning is it's better to be an idiot for 5 minutes than dumb for a whole life.
Indeed. Indeed. And then actually, I don't know how many of you actually got to such situations in the card deck where there was some type of proverb or something like Dennis was pointing out. There's a lot of wisdom in different cultures. And we often don't know that wisdom because we are often only hearing things in our own language. But obviously, that initial conversation about be an idiot for a second and ask the question so you don't say idiot your entire life was originally probably written in Chinese, but it is translated and it goes across cultures. And we say, yes, it's better to ask and know than to demonstrate that you either don't know or don't care. And as the world gets more and more connected, we're going to find this wisdom going back and forth across these our cultural landscapes. And we as teachers or students, because teachers are students as well, as we start being exposed to other wisdom, we're able to figure out how that can apply in our own interactions in the classroom or with people on the street, or any way we find people who are diverse. And we're looking in this particular exercise about cultural diversity in terms of nations, but there's also cultural diversity in terms of age and gender, and religion, educational level. So we're exposed to diversity throughout our entire lives. And once we understand that, then sometimes it's not so scary to talk about diversity in terms of nation, because we have been dealing with diversity in terms of other things our entire lives within our own countries. There is research to show that there's more diversity within a country than between countries. So if you know how to deal with people who are exceptionally older than you or exceptionally younger than you, and you know how to adapt, then that same skill is what's being applied when you deal with people who are coming from another cultural, national culture. And of course, every culture has subcultures. They have ethnic subcultures, they have interest subcultures that make a difference on how people interact with each other. So very good. Anything else?
There was a very interesting question about the international classroom. What cultural issues can a teacher compensate by clear instructions? And there was proposed language use, learning styles, group work, and we thought that it will be the group work that may be organized with clear instructions. But it was interesting that none of such such answers. Why? I don't understand.
I think if I'm thinking you're at the correct one, the point here is that no matter what you do as a teacher in a multicultural classroom, you're always going to have people who are not going to be able to understand things that are not spoken out explicitly. And so you may think the group work one is a really good example, because I see that here at YAMC. We have students from all over the world, and I've been doing group work for 40 years. Some of you have been doing group work your entire lives, or school lives, but there are still educational systems that don't emphasize that. And so they are put into a group and they're not real sure what it is they're supposed to do. They have no sense of what their duty is. So I guess the point of that is that as a teacher, your role may change depending on where the students are coming from or how their education level is, their experience level is, so that if you're teaching a group of students from your own culture, you can say something or do something and the students already know what to do because they have been trained until before you got them. But when you're in an international classroom, then you have to already expect that you may have to have more explicit instructions simply because you can't know what students know or what they don't know. And if you assume that they know something, then it becomes problematic. And I think that I'm going to use this experiment today, this program today is a good example that I have done online things before. I did not know because I don't use the phone for my education. So by my not knowing that a number of the students on this, or the number of participants in this workshop, were going to be on their phones, and therefore how I planned the lesson wasn't going to work, suddenly now we had a lot of problems. That's why a number of you did not have a chance to go very far in the questions, because we had so many problems getting people into groups, because we had to make sure somebody had a computer to download it, because you couldn't do it on your phone. So that was a huge learning experience for me, because it's not something that I deal with on a regular basis. Another one of my colleagues would have said, well, of course they're going to be on their phones. But my students are in the classroom. Even if I'm working on international students, I'm not used to them learning on the phone. So I think the point here is that we as teachers should not make assumptions, which I did, which is wrong. We need to constantly be learning and learning how our students are learning, and then also recognize that there are cultural experience that some may not have had when they come into your group. And those are all kinds of things that you need to work with. And that applies not only for teaching, but also if you're in networking or something. If you're working in a networked project in which you have people from maybe 12 different environments, what their challenges are, or how they share information, or how they deal with things, and that it all be your experience. And so you have to find out what they're doing or how they're doing, so you can be sure that they're not being left behind, or you're not being left behind in how you're sharing information among yourselves. So yeah, that's always an important element. And for many of the questions, that is actually the answer, is how you learn how to adapt to how the new way of the new mobile persons are operating. And I'm mobile in both ways, both in moving around and in on their phone. It's a new way of how people interact nowadays, and we're all learning. If any of you had gone, none of you had the same deck. Okay, so that we had 25 different distinct decks. There are some overlapping questions, but they were put together by by my team of students. And so what we selected for that particular group, I don't know, it depended. So, and since we only had 4 active groups, there's a chance that all of them for one person, because that's just the way it worked out. The point here is that my students were trying to, being international students, were trying to figure out what they thought you might benefit from in the discussion. Not necessarily the answers, but the discussion of these questions. Because there's always wisdom in the group that we don't know exists because we don't know your group. And that's another element of how do you work with people who are from different cultures, is you find ways to start discussing, and those discussions start opening up your senses to what people know or what they experience or how they go about things that can change how you do your work or how you approach a problem. We are constantly learning new ways of being and doing as we move through life. And that these cards are only meant as a springboard for you to develop those skills. And I wish it had worked the way we had planned, because it would have been wonderful to have more groups of people talking about more things that would benefit the entire group, since individuals are going to pick out different cards that spoke to them. And that's sort of the issue that is the downside of how this turned out. But you are talking about things, you're picking things that are personal to you, and that's the important part. And to never stop talking to colleagues, whether that's your students talking to each other, or students talking to teachers, or teachers talking to each other, or researchers talking to each other. All of that opens up the possibility of understanding some other culture or some other practice that you might not ever had thought you needed to know. Excuse me.
Thanks.
So we're sort of out of time at this point. So I want to thank you for being patient with us as we were trying to make it work. And I don't know what we can do down the road that might continue the conversation, but I hope that the process here at least alerted you to opportunities where you can start stretching yourself a little bit and growing.
Actually, we are going to continue with self-evaluation. We are going to check how well your cross-cultural competences are developed now, and where are possible areas for improvement in future. This is actually the topic of our next activity. I'm not going to make you listening to me a lot. I'd like you to take some short test first, and then we will go through checklist. You will just assess yourself to have some kind of, material for for maybe making decisions, maybe shaping your further path, learning path, because you know that actually, if you would like to know more about another culture, you just need to start to read, to communicate this is the only possible way. So I hope that in a few minutes we will continue. And let's thank Barbara, because I think that this activity was really interesting.
Thank you.
So, as I promised, we are not going to talk a lot, and I will jump through some explanations directly to tests, because probably you already got all the necessary material and all the necessary insights just to shape actually the area for improvement. And now we are only will try to understand where you are at the moment. And actually, the main objective of our session today is to identify your areas, and maybe if we still have time, we will talk a bit about some strategies, or in other words, how you can do it using all the existing tools or platforms, whatever. So, actually, when it comes to the question, to the topic of shaping and developing cross-cultural competence, we always need to consider this topic from different perspectives. From the perspective of educators and researchers, and also from the perspective of students. And when it comes to universities, here on the slide, you can see the list of the most frequently used approaches, how in the universities, management, educators, all staff actually tries to educate students about cross-cultural differences to make them more competitive at the labor market, at the international level including. So here are all the strategies. First of all, universities try to promote cultural awareness and empathy using such kind of events like this, for example. Also, they are trying to encourage open dialogue and active listening with their students, adapt communication styles to cultural context, build cultural competence through education and training, additional educational training. Sometimes university also add this cross-cultural component to their curriculum, and YAMK could be a good example in this case, because this activity is integrated in the curriculum for the degree in international business. It is called In the Flesh, and this is the whole week. It takes 2 credits for students when they complete this activity. They have a bunch of different types of task assignments that they are doing all together, including interactive sessions, games, quests, whatever. It takes the whole week for them. And actually, since all students came from different countries, this activity this week for communication, collaborate, and so on, it really helps to engage into the process, and it really helps to learn about culture differences. And of course, this is a part of curriculum. One more approach. Universities try to encourage and foster learning and teaching between peers, or when let's say peers or group mates, they share their knowledge with their friends. And sometimes this activity also could be incorporated into the curriculum structure. Again, YAMK is an example. Within the set of elective courses, elective studies, there is one activity which is called Each to Teach One. It might allow students to take about 8 credits if they are going to use the whole entire activity in their curriculum. And it means that one student, they should originate from different cultures, and one student teaches another student to language. This is how they can proceed, and actually some students, they are willing to take this activity into their PLP, which means personal learning plan, and to practice it. However, sometimes they reduce the number of credits, and they prefer to take more other courses to shape their degree and to shape their competence in a more narrow way, let's say, including or focusing more at finance. However, each one is quite popular activity, and some of students like to use it. Also, sometimes universities tries to foster team building activities in diverse group. And again, since and as I'm here currently, I can give you example from our life, from life of our first year students. They have the whole week for team building, which is called orientation week for them. And during this time, we tell them about all the young systems, how to get credentials, how to organize their life in US school or whatever. But also they have a lot of time to collaborate, to get known each other. And they have the whole day, which is dedicated to different types of games and team building activities. So, and Young is not only the example. There are a lot of other European universities in Scandinavian countries and also over the world who practice the same approach. But let's go further. I tried to be very brief. As I promised already, let's test your level of cultural intelligence. Here you can see QR code if you take a picture, if you use your cell phones, or if you follow the link, by the way, also it might work. It will bring you to the web page of the Common Purpose Project, which is a non-governmental project devoted to different types of education, and they developed tests, very short and brief and simple one. If you take it, you will see where you are, if your level of cultural intelligence is low, high, or in the middle. Let's try to do it right now. It takes not a long time, I think. I will try to check if any questions in the chat. Not yet. Please let me know if you can if you can open the link using QR code. Does it work?
It's worked.
Great. Then it will not take a while. Just try it. Of course, I'd like to add that this test is not very well known, is not really relevant when it comes to some, let's say, academic level or international recognized level. There are another certified techniques which are approved by international authorities, but unfortunately, all those tests and methodologies, they are not free of charge, and I do not have access to them. But this one is open access. We can use it for any purpose. If you would like to test yourself, or you can offer this test also to your students, just to clarify where we are very quickly. Okay, once you're ready with cultural intelligence test, I'd like to offer you one more technique, and this technique, this methodology, it's not a test actually. It's about your self-reflection. Just to, yeah, it would be great if you do a test right now. Sorry, I missed the question. I'm sorry. That's great, Sophia. It would be great if you take a test right now, because I will ask you a little bit later to fill the Google form with brief questions, very short. You will need you don't need to write something. they just choose the right option. For me, it's important, and it's important for you because after we can discuss and we can see the statistics. So where are the most important areas for improvement? Maybe we will come up with some generalization. I don't know. Let's see. But I'd like to add a little bit more, details about this self-evaluation methodology or checklist of cross-cultural competence. This one is developed by one of authorities in Canada, which is dealing with immigrants. And this checklist, again, you can reach it, you can open it if you follow QR code on the slide. This checklist is divided into three main parts. First one is awareness, your cultural awareness. This part actually indicates how well you understand and how well you know where are those sticking points when it comes to communications with representatives of another countries. How well you understand that you are also culturally biased person, and all those questions which help to understand you something about the level of your cultural knowledge as well. And the second part is called knowledge. And this is where you can clarify how many facts you know about the country or another culture or another cultures, if in plural. And maybe here you will see that there is room for improvement, maybe so. And the final part of checklist, it is dedicated to self-evaluation of your skills, communication skills with foreigners. So please try to follow and quickly reply. You can see the guide how to complete this checklist just on the first page, maybe second, because the first page is title page. It's not difficult. You only need to tick right column, and then in the end to calculate how many marks you've done. It's not difficult. I think it might take about 5 to 7 minutes to go through all the parts. By the way, I can share with you that window too. I think this is correct. Can you see my screen now? Can you see cultural competence self-assessment checklist?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Maybe it might be helpful. So here you can see that there is a list of statements for each part of checklist, and just you need to decide if you ever had an experience or if you have clear scenes of your bias and so on. It's not difficult. And once you're ready with those marks and ticks, you need to multiply them accordingly. You can see all the coefficients in the end of columns. And after, you will see the number of points you got for the section.
Excuse me, can you share the QR code of this second
Yeah,
step?
yeah. I will be back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it links us to the document, and we have to manually draw those.
Yeah, you need to manually, actually, if you have paper, whatever, you can just, notice, just write what you are going to drag there. Oh, that's not excellent. Next slide. I'm so happy to see that there are a lot of people who have high level of cultural intelligence. I mean, level of CQ, according to the first test. Yeah, actually, the first test is automatic. So you need only to put your answers and then you automatically see the result. But the second one is just a checklist. So it's all about self-evaluation. You need to think which option works for you. And then you will see how many, even it's not obligatory, to be honest, it's not obligatory to calculate something right now. Once you are ready with all those sentences or let's say statements, once you're ready with self-evaluation, you will see where you have the biggest number of marks, if it's never or often, or what option you have chosen most frequently. And after you are ready with it, we will move to Google Form. And here, this is a place where I would like to ask you kindly to add your results, but not the exact result, but your opinion about yourself. So after you took all both the first test and this, you've done this checklist. So I'd like you to evaluate yourself again according to the questions in the Google form. And then we will see statistics. How many of you have a high level of CQ? And maybe we will see also where are the room for improvement or rooms for improvement. Okay, I see that there are some participants who already could proceed. So let's go to the next slide. Here we are. The last Google form. Questions are very simple. It shouldn't take a while. Actually, I can share probably the link also through chat if it's easier than QR code in this case. Here is a link to our Google form where I ask you to put your results. So you can see the questions are very simple, easy. So, and we are going to look at answers. Not yet.
You shared a link where we can edit, but not just give our reply.
Sorry.
Probably you have to push on there, send. Yep, отправить.
Oh, you're right. I didn't notice. I'm sorry.
Yep, and here the second link, this connection link, after this mail convert. Yep. Just
Just-
between.
I will stop sharing them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a good, very good point. I made everything, but didn't share. I will stop sharing screen right now, and I will continue after I send you Google form.
Can you show us the QR code of the test?
Of which
Of
one?
the second test. Of the
Second test.
second.
Okay, just write in 1 moment. I will. This is the one. Here we are. This one.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, I understand. You can edit the form. Zoom is a bit in the way. I will stop sharing screen now. I need to look for the form. Please try it now. Do you still have rights to edit something or no?
No, now it seems to work fine.
Okay. Finally, thank you very much.
Oh, well, I have just noticed that, for example, the first question is, what was your level of cultural intelligence, etc.? And the options are high and then variant 2.
Oh,
So it's
oh, they
not,
were all.
Maybe
it's
someone
mistake.
accidentally edited it before, so.
Yeah, I will add right now. I will add. Yes, probably
Thank
somebody
you.
accidentally added. They have everything correct. Okay. Okay. Well, it seems now everything should be okay. Could you please check?
Could you send the link again, or should we use the previous one?
I think that even if you use the previous one, it should be correct.
Okay.
Of course, I can send again.
Yeah, it seems to work. The options seem fine.
Thank you.
Now I went to the second page, and the question number 2. I'm supposed to choose among the options, but there is 0 options.
I put the
Right.
question in
Please
the
check
chat. Where is the option to choose, and no
Yeah,
one.
yes, the same.
Very
Oh, okay.
strange because there should be all the questions. Yeah, it's disappeared. It was there. I will add very, very quickly. Just
And the second one, questions about the second part with this.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. It seems like the questions probably accidentally were duplicated because there were only 5, and now I have 2 double second. Second question
Yes, but
is mentioned twice. I will delete one of them because it's a
okay,
kind of.
yes.
Okay, so how we evaluate to get
On the
our mark for his? I don't understand. We have the points that we are calculated, and how we answer the question. For example, my cultural awareness can be rated as from 1 to 5. What the result says? I didn't get it right.
Okay, actually, you got your result according to the self checklist, yeah?
Yes. No, for example, I have 23 points for the first.
And you can see that most of your points, where are they? In what column?
3.
3. So most probably you can rank your and you can see that a third column is actually almost the highest one. Yeah. So you can get the bigger number of points for those columns. Probably only the last one is the maximum. And according to this, you can rate your cultural awareness on the scale from 1 to 5. It's up to you to decide.
That's
5
our
or 4.
own opinion for this. I understood. Thank you. Now it's working properly.
Yeah. And I think that I already can share with you the results. That was my aim, just to take a look in general where we are. And how you can use these results for in your probably maybe plans or in planning your activities. If you see that the biggest number of points you've got, for example, for culture awareness, and at the same time you see that you have less points for skills, then probably you need to try to find ways to broaden your social circle, to involve more people originated from other countries, just in order to improve your communication skills. This is an idea. To do it, you can use a lot of different platforms, digital. Then also there are some forums where you can participate. Also, I should say that there are a lot of language learning services that offer opportunity to communicate with representatives of different countries. And NGVIT is a good example, actually, where you can find another people, let's say, etc. Also, learning platforms such as Coursera, if you take the course, it's always an opportunity to find new people who are also taking the same course in the same language. And actually, some platforms, they also offer courses dedicated to the topic of cross-cultural relations building. Actually, Coursera offers, and also one more platform, I have it here, Future Learn. Of course, they have plan where you need to pay. However, still limited access is free of charge, and you can find some courses which are related to cross-cultural perspective and cross-cultural communication improvement. Also, edX, Edera, they all offer courses related to international communication, developing international communication skills, whatever. And I would not, I don't want to bother you too much, but if you can see the results of our short, sorry, that's not it. Here, yeah, and here is the own version. Here, yeah. So let's take a look briefly what we have now. We can see that most of you, by the way, have a high level of cross-cultural competence according to the CQ test. And let's take a look at the at other answers. Though most of you identified by this tool as is very nice communicating with other nationalities people. You by yourself, in like the majority of us, let's say, still think that there are some problems with cultural awareness. And if you see that probably it's worthy to learn something new, it's not difficult, to be honest. There are a lot of materials, and I would recommend you to read books on the topic, dedicated to the topic. For example, cultural maps written by Erin Meyer. Very interesting book, and it's easy to read and entertaining, I would say. Even though she uses quite well-grounded explanation how they calculated and how she measures and how she identify all those dimensions. She also explains how to map cultures, how to compare them in order to avoid some difficulty of misconduct or misunderstanding. One more interesting book is written by Richard Gestelland. I think that most of you have heard about it already. And it is dedicated to different styles of doing business, different patterns. He actually split all the countries to 8 models, if I'm not mistaken. And you can clearly see to which group of countries which country belongs to. It could be helpful. Sometimes when we need to go abroad, it is really beneficial to learn preliminary about some habits, especially when it comes to working life, because some customs, let's say, they are totally different to our culture. And to be successful here, we need to know if we should use formal greetings when we meet colleagues, or it's better to be a little bit less formal. Or if it is okay if you ask out to go out somebody to have a cup of coffee together after the first meeting, for example, or you need to meet at least 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, maybe. In the case of Finnish culture, maybe 10 times. And only after that, it would be wise to ask to go your colleague to go somewhere together, because Finns, they are quite how to say, closed in the beginning, and it takes time to get known each other. But once you are approved, let's say, or once they see you as a friend, after that, you will see that Finns are very, very warm people with big hearts. They are helpful, and they are always ready to explain if you need some additional explanations. And I should say that they are quite collaborative in this case. And when it comes to another cultures, let's say France, they are more open. It's very easy to go somewhere together with your colleague from France. However, the level of friendship, or let's say the level of trust might be lower in the beginning, because you only recently met your colleague, let's say, and it will take a while to get known each other, but you will have an opportunity to communicate more, because in the case of Finnish culture, you are a little bit limited. So since in the beginning, at least, they are not willing to talk a lot, to be honest. And that is why it's worthy to learn in advance, to read in advance, and to try to shape your vision of a culture in advance. However, here we always need to be very careful, because stereotypes, and now actually we are talking mostly about stereotypes, they can help. And that is why all the frameworks developed by scientists, by Gestelland, by Meyer, by Hofstede, by Troppenaars, they work. Because sometimes stereotypes help us to build a kind of vision of a culture, but when it comes to personality, Of course, situation could be totally different, just totally different. I happened to meet things that are exactly like it was described, like it was predicted. And on the other hand, I know some people who are totally different. They are talking a lot. They are ready to discuss whatever you want to discuss. And they were ready to continue acquaintance just starting the first meeting. So it depends on the person, of course. But sometimes it's worth it to know some general principles. And you can see that actually cultural knowledge, they vary. And most probably, this advice to learn a bit more might be useful. And cultural skills is probably the less developed area, because you know that if you want to develop a skill, that it means that you need to practice. And it's quite difficult to practice when you have no access to some representatives of certain culture. Well, but that was the last activity for today. And if you are interested, I listed briefly some approaches how you can foster or enforce or facilitate, improve your cross-cultural competitiveness. You can see it from my presentation. It will be downloaded, uploaded to our space, and it will be accessible to you. For you, thank you for being with us the whole week. I really hope that some insights that we shared with you were useful, and I hope that after this winter school, you are inspired to continue, and you will build your career in a way you want to build it, and you will become more successful and more ready to participate, and maybe less afraid of going abroad, because I know that actually this fear is also sometimes a challenge. It's not easy to make a decision to go somewhere sometimes, but it is worth it. It's not gonna be easy, definitely. And for example, me personally, I was surprised because once I came to another country, I was physically tired, in the end of the day. I was exhausted, headache, just general bad condition. And I couldn't understand what is going on, what is happening with me. And only this time I got that actually it was just cultural shock, because this is how it works. Everything is new environment, new people, new language, actually foreign language. And it's not easy to communicate and to perceive the information in foreign language all time around. So thank you one more time. And I hope to hear from you in the nearest future in some international projects, and to read news from you and about you on Facebook or whatever. I wish you to be successful, and the most important, to be happy. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the experience.
you.
It
Thank you
was
so
much. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Have a nice day.
Likewise.
Thank you.
yeah. See you
Thank
next time. Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So it's time to end our conference. Wish you good luck.